All right, today we're going to take a trip around the globe. And no, not for sightseeing, but for something way more fundamental, our food. We're diving deep into the latest global harvest report to get a real snapshot of the world's pantry. And believe me, what we find affects every single one of us. I mean, it sounds a little random, right? But the answer? Well, the answer connects all of us. Think about it. The price of your groceries, whether you can find certain foods at the store, it's all part of this huge, interconnected global story. And a big character in that story is the weather happening on the complete other side of the planet. So, where are we getting all this info? Well, for today's explainer, we're digging into the USDA's World Agricultural Production Report. And listen, this isn't just a boring spreadsheet full of data. No way. It actually tells a story. It's kind of like a tale of two harvests playing out across the world right now, and it gives us this critical sneak peek into the future of our food. Okay, so let's kick things off with the good news, shall we? Because in some parts of the world, the conditions have been, well, pretty much perfect. We're talking about incredible record-setting harvests. These are the big winners for the season. And our first stop is down under. You know, after a start to the season that was, frankly, a little worrying, it was super dry. Australian wheat farmers are now looking at one of their best years ever. It's a huge turnaround, and it has some major implications for the rest of the world. Just look at this number. The forecast is for a staggering 34.5 million metric tons of wheat. Now, to put that into perspective for you, this isn't just a good year. We're talking about a harvest that's on track to be the third highest on record for the entire country. That is a massive surplus for the global market. Okay, so when you look at these percentages, you might think, 1 or 2%, what's the big deal? But here's the thing. The crucial point is the consistency. Being consistently above that 5-year average, that shows incredible strength. It shows resilience. And it makes Australia a really reliable player in what's becoming a pretty volatile world. So what's the secret sauce here? How do they pull this off? It's actually pretty simple. It all came down to perfect timing. After that dry start, the rains came at exactly the right moments in June, July, and August. It gave the crops the exact boost they needed to just flourish. It's a perfect reminder that for all our technology, farming still really depends on the whims of Mother Nature. But here's a question for you. How do we know the conditions are so good from thousands of miles away? This is where things get really cool. See, analysts aren't just taking someone's word for it from the ground. Nope. They've got an eye in the sky that gives them a level of insight that is, honestly, it's mind-blowing. It's a technology called NDVI. And here's the simple version. It's like a weather report for plants from space. Satellites can literally measure the greenness of the fields from orbit. So this data tells them exactly how healthy and strong the plants are, giving them hard evidence to back up these huge production forecasts. It's high-tech farming analysis on a truly global scale. Pretty amazing, right? And Australia isn't the only one having a great year, not by a long shot. Let's hop across the ocean to South America, because Brazilian farmers are celebrating a similarly massive harvest. This time we're talking about their safrinha, which is their second corn crop of the season. Get ready for another huge number. Brazil is on track for a near-record 135 million metric tons of corn. Wow. This incredible yield is all thanks to really favorable weather and an extended rainy season for that crucial safrinha crop. It's just sent their production numbers soaring. And I mean, just look at this chart. A 13% jump from last season? That is a huge deal. This isn't some small uptick we're talking about. It is a massive leap in production, and it's being driven by record yields in their key growing regions in the Central West. All right, but as you know, for every winner, there's usually a loser. The very same global weather patterns that brought all that perfectly timed rain to Australia and Brazil, well, they brought scorching heat and brutal drought to other parts of the world, painting a much more challenging picture. So now, let's shift our focus over to the European Union. Because here, the story for corn farmers is the complete polar opposite of what we just saw in Brazil. They've been absolutely hammered with 2 years in a row of extremely difficult summer conditions. And, you know, the numbers here really tell a tough story. Production is down 7% from last year, and, this is the really concerning part, 12% below the 5-year average. This isn't just a bad harvest, folks. It's a major shortfall that's going to have ripple effects across the entire global market. So what's going on? Well, the culprits are pretty clear.
It's a brutal 1-2 punch of record-breaking heat and a severe lack of rain. I mean, key corn-growing regions in France saw temperatures spike above 40 degrees Celsius. That's 104 Fahrenheit. The situation is so tough that many farmers are just giving up on corn altogether and switching to hardier crops like sunflowers.
And this right here really says it all. It's a perfect tale of two harvests. On one side of the planet, you've got Brazil seeing a 13% boom in corn production, and on the other, the EU suffers a 7% bust. It's just a stark, clear reminder of how these regional weather patterns are creating completely different fortunes in our global food system.
And this hardship isn't just limited to the EU. In Ukraine, farmers are facing a very similar struggle. The sunflower, which is such a powerful symbol of the nation, right? Well, it's being challenged by that same persistent dryness and heat that's been plaguing so much of Europe.
And because of these harsh conditions, the production forecast for Ukraine's sunflower seed crop has been slashed by 6%. And that's just in the last month. It's a really clear sign of just how fast conditions on the ground can change and immediately start to impact the global supply.
Okay, so we've seen the highs and the lows. We've seen the winners and the losers. But what does it all mean when you put it all together? What's the big picture takeaway from this whole global report?
If there's one word to take away from all of this, it's volatility. We're just not living in a world of averages anymore. It feels like we're living in a world of extremes. You have these record-shattering harvests in one part of the world happening at the exact same time as devastating droughts in another. So let's break down what this really means. On one hand, you see this incredible resilience. The success stories in Australia and Brazil, they prove our agricultural system can be ridiculously productive when the conditions are right. But on the other hand, we see this deep vulnerability. The struggles in Europe and Ukraine are a huge warning sign about how susceptible our food supply is to extreme weather. And when you put those two realities together, the result is just growing uncertainty for all of us. It's making our global food chain more unpredictable than it's ever been. You know, when you really look at it, this report is more than just a bunch of numbers. It's really a stress test for our entire global food system. And as these weather extremes start to feel more and more like the new normal, it leaves us with one really big question to think about. Just how secure is our global pantry?